Alright, aloha. Welcome to the Hotspot Theater. My name is Romy and I'll be your science educator for today's Hotspot Lava Show. We'll cover a few things today, starting out with an introduction to the Hawaiian island chain and its creation with volcanoes. In the middle of the show, we'll do a lava pour, so it will be noisy as that furnace continues to burn. If you feel the need to step out or step back in, you're more than welcome to. And at the very end of the show, we'll go through different samples of lava rock and lava glass that you will be able to touch. Does that sound like a plan? Alright, thanks for coming on down. If you're here for the first time, I'd like you to check out our ceiling for just a moment. Notice how it's red and orange and yellow above your heads, as if there's a pit of lava hanging out there. Our walls are black and bumpy, designed to look like lava rock keeping our room together here. And this hot furnace does add some heat to the room, giving us that feeling that we are in a hot spot. So that's why we'll go ahead and start our journey today here in our hot spot theater. Now the hot spot we're talking about is a geological one, and what this means is it does not give us internet. Instead, this hot spot is deep down inside the earth where it gets really, really hot, up to 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. Use an oven that probably gets to 400 or 500 degrees Fahrenheit at most. So instead, this heat is hot enough that solid rock melts down into what is known as magma. Over time, that magma slowly rises up towards the Earth's surface to fill a magma chamber. It's kind of like a balloon. So what happens if you fill a balloon with too much air? It'll pop, it'll burst. What comes through to the surface then is called lava. So from magma deep below to lava up above, this is just the starting point of our volcanoes here in the islands. We also like to mention this woman as a source of the lava as well. Have any of you heard of Pele? See something else? Okay, if you're not familiar, she's our lava goddess, our fire goddess here in the islands. Stories tell a lot of her relationship with her brothers and sisters. Do any of you have brothers or sisters? I have some younger sisters myself. Alright, can you raise your hand now if you've ever fought with your brother or sister? A little hand raised there. Thank you for your honesty. That way, you kind of relate to Kelly, that those stories tell of her fighting so much with her siblings that she left her home of Kahiki to come here to Hawaii, going from island to island trying to dig a hole to protect her sacred fire. Her sister had power over water, so she kept following and putting out all of Pele's fires until she was defeated. They say now that Pele's spirit rests in the Halemaumau crater of the Kilauea volcano. That is the volcano that erupted last year, with its lava covering hundreds of homes, flowing down to the ocean and filling in an entire bay. And so it's changed the lives of the people there for years to come, but we do like to pay a little bit of respect to Madame Pele here. If we take a look at her volcanoes, they're actually jumpler compared to others around the world. These are our Hawaiian shield volcanoes with that nice smooth shape. If you know Captain America, he carries a nice smooth shield. You can also think of a turtle shell if you'd like. It's a little bit closer to home here. But that nice smooth shape compared to the cone shape or composite volcanoes more found in other places around the world that actually erupt a little bit more violently. If we go to the Big Island, we'll see the largest and the youngest shield volcanoes. For example, this is Mauna Kea. It's so tall that it actually has a little bit of white snow there on top during parts of the year. Haleakala on Maui is about the same height. It also got snow this past February. You can also see that gentle slope of Mauna Kea. On the Big Island also hosts the largest volcano. This is Mauna Loa, taking up most of the island there, and you can imagine the size of these volcanoes at the bottom of the ocean floor where they start forming. They definitely compare to other mountains around the world. So anyway, many of our islands are made up of multiple volcanoes, and this would not be possible without one more factor. It's our tectonic plate theory. If I gave each of you an egg and you dropped it, what would happen to its shell? Can you hear it? It would crack a ring. Yes. So you'll see the red outlines here. These are the pieces of our Earth's crust. They're called plates, and Hawaii happens to sit in the middle of the largest one called the Pacific Plate. It's been moving to the northwest at a very slow rate of speed, about 2 to 3 inches or 5 centimeters, a very small distance. But this movement has been happening for millions and millions of years. So the distance has added up and helped create an island chain here in the middle. Putting that together, that's one hotspot, the Hawaiian hotspot, pumping out lava, creating land like the island you're on right now. And to that Pacific Plate moving slowly like the conveyor belt, pulling away those islands as they form. Just think of chocolate or candy in a factory being moved along, or sushi on a conveyor belt as well. As a result, we get the island chain that we know and love as Hawaii. So here's my question for you all. How many islands do we have here? Does anyone know? Okay. I hear 8. Okay, good. Anybody have a different guess besides me? 12? Okay. A little bit of a range there. So if you're thinking below 10, you're thinking of our main Hawaiian islands in the southeast, from Hawaii Island or the Big Island up to Kauai and Niihau. There's Oahu, where we are at the moment, and the hotspot is located off the coast of the Big Island. But we have an official count of 8 main Hawaiian islands. 8 is indeed the number to remember. Some people like to joke that Las Vegas is the 9th island, but get confused. 8 main Hawaiian islands. We can count higher by including the northwestern Hawaiian island chain, from Necker Island or Bokumanamana up to Curie Atoll at the most northwest. All in all, we have over 130 islands, seamounts, atolls that are all considered part of Hawaii, with this chain actually stretching longer than the coastline of California, if you can imagine that. Just lots of bits and pieces in the middle of a very big ocean. So over time, it's become a pretty special place for the plants, animals, and hopefully people like yourselves. So the last creature I want to mention before we do our color is this one. The one is 3-striped butterfly fish there on the screen. We have 3 alive in the building. Just take the stairs in this direction or the ramp there later to find them in their small tank against the wall. They actually come from deep in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, and they're an example of the research that goes on behind the scenes here at the museum. So you can say hi to those fish later on. Alright. So that's my overview of our 30 million year old island chain. Are we ready for some hot lava? Yeah? Okay. So if you haven't been to our show before, just a heads up, we have our furnace here, and right below it is a pan. If you can't quite see the pan, now's your chance to get your eyes on that pan below the furnace. That's where the lava will appear. During the tour, this cage will be closed for your safety. For my safety, I need to put on the shiny fire proximity suit. If you give me a moment, that'd be great. It'll bounce the heat off of me while I'm doing the pour. So please, keep your eyes on the pan. I'm going to turn off the lights so the lava can shine. We'll have it in just a moment.
bright orange, bright yellow, hot enough it's producing its own light there on the pan. It's still glowing just a bit. I can stretch it at first like taffy or gum, but within a matter of minutes it begins to solidify until I hit it with a stick and you can hear it's a solid piece of something. And what we've actually created is volcanic glass. So let's get a better look at that, and I can share how we make what's there.
Alright, so in order to make this, we actually do start out with lava rock. That's what I'll pass around now. Feel free to give this a touch and pass it to your neighbor. It's a little cup of material we call cinder. It's just basalt rock pieces, lots of small basalt pieces, essentially what makes up our islands. If you were to dig and dig, you might find it something similar, or you can just buy it by the bag from Home Depot, which is where we get the cinder for our show. When we heat it up, we heat it up to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit and let it melt for about 2 hours before every show, such that when it comes out, it is molten rock here on the surface. We go ahead and call it lava. What we get as a product is instead a glassy material instead of a rock. This is what we call tachylite. So you can feel how smooth this sample is. It's a little bit smoother than the sample we just made. That's our Bishop Museum tachylite. If you've heard of obsidian, that's a pretty popular volcanic glass these days. This is kind of like that. It just comes from a different rock, so it has a different name. But you can feel our smooth man-made tachylite. We can also compare it to the samples of actual lava rock that you might find in nature. There are actually two main types of lava flows. The first flow you see here is called pahoihoi. Can you try that? Pahoihoi. Sounds good. This is a runnier of our two flows. Without a slope, it takes its time, but with one, it can flow up to 40 miles per hour, or a lot faster than being stuck in traffic here. I don't know how fast 40 miles per hour is. You can get a nice smooth pahoihoi flow that ends up with a lobe or toe, or sometimes this banded ropey structure, but these are both samples of that pahoihoi lava flow. Right. The second main type of lava flow has a much shorter name. Its name is ah. Can we try that? Ah. Kind of a bumpy sounding name, appropriate for fairly bumpy looking rock. Joke is, if you step on a rock like this, you might say yourself, okay? Super cheesy, easy way to remember your and your pahoihoi. You'll notice this is lighter than that pahoihoi sample. It doesn't quite compact down in the same way. If you are the last one with the sample, please feel free to leave them anywhere in the room. And you'll notice our glass here has been breaking and it'll shatter a little bit more throughout the rest of the show as it cools. Okay, sometimes lava can cool in the air. You just need a little bit of gas or pressure to get it there. This next piece is called spatter or scoria. You'll see a lot of small holes in it from the bubbles of gas that were there with it when it cooled. It's actually quite light. I'll go ahead and follow it with a similarly sized piece. This is a piece of the Lo'ihi seamount, which is forming where the hot spot is today. Maybe one day it will grow tall enough to be the new 9th Hawaiian island, but compare this piece from deep underwater to that scoria that's cooled in the air. If you get small pieces, if you get enough pressure, you can have a fountain of lava. It can go up to 2,000 feet high. Now, we've had fountaining like this in the 50s and 60s with the Mauna Loa eruption. That's high enough that by the time it falls down, it's cooled in a raindrop or teardrop shape. So we call them Pele's tears, as if the goddess has been crying. Our samples of these are upstairs inside the volcano cavity, along with some of our larger samples, if you'd like to check them out. I can pass around these small vials, hold them up to the light to see them a little bit more clearly. This next one contains limu o pele, which forms near the ocean. When hot lava flows into cool ocean water, you might get a bubble of glass. When that bubble bursts, you're left with these green and black pieces, these flat pieces that look like limu. Does anyone know what limu is? Yeah, it is seaweed. So you might have eaten a nice edible limu. This is a glass version. There you go. We call it pele seaweed. It looks like that flat seaweed you use for spam musubis or the furikake and rice and poke. All this lava looks like glass. This next small vial is my favorite. It contains Pele's hair. This forms just like cotton candy with a little bit of wind, whipping around droplets of lava into these fine, fine strands that look like hair. But keep in mind, if you were to touch this, it could break and go into your skin. This is light enough to be picked up and moved around there by the wind on the big island. So Pele's hair, just look at there. We have a really nice large gray sample upstairs inside of the volcano. And if you go to the fair, which I saw was set up, you can see that cotton candy, think of that lava as well. My final two samples are a little shinier. They've had time to cool slowly enough for crystals to grow. This rock will come around with a flashlight so that you can see the green crystals of the mineral olivine that have formed within it. If you're born in August, your birthstone is peridot or peridot. This is just the not quite as beautiful form of that gemstone. But it's nice and green still in this rock. And over time, on the south shore of the Big Island, this rock has been broken down by wind and wave, leaving a green sand beach. Its name is Papakolea, or common name is green sand beach. You can go and see the olivine crystals that have deposited. Compare that to our black sand from broken down lava rock, and our white sand from the coral and seashells of the reef. Now, my final sample for you all comes from a fairly familiar place. Its name is Le'ahi, but you might know it better as Diamond Head. So who's seen Diamond Head? Yeah, maybe you can climb to the top. If you climb to the top, you might know this name, the story of this name. This time, if you can imagine the shape of Diamond Head, what do we associate with ahi? What kind of fish? It's a tuna fish. And le comes from the Hawaiian word for brow or forehead. So if we check out a tuna fish, examine its brow or forehead all the way to its fin. Do you see Diamond Head? Do you see le'ahi? Matches pretty well there on the fin. Le'ahi or Diamond Head. Ahi can also mean fire in Hawaiian, so if you interpret it as crown of fire, you'll never forget that geologic origin of our mountains here. But its English name, Diamond Head, does have its own curiosity. Supposedly, sailors came and saw the mountaintop and noticed it was pretty shiny, so they thought they'd found some diamonds and were going to become very, very rich. Hence the name Diamond Head. Alas, that was not the case. What they found instead was a crystal called calcite. So I'll pass it around. It's a nice shiny crystal on kind of the sandstone coral-like material. Please keep in mind this is not lava. So it's pretty, like a diamond or another gem might be, but unfortunately not quite worth the same. This is chemically the same as chalk, as coral, as seashells themselves. Just a nice crystal of calcium carbonate, like the Tums you might have to take if your stomach's not feeling too well. But anyway, even though it's not worth the same as a diamond, Diamond Head does hold value to us today as visitors and locals alike. And with that, I want to say thank you so much for coming on down to my show. These are the programs happening within the next hour. I'm happy to answer any questions, and kids at heart are welcome to try on the lava suit helmet. So please have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for coming. Mahalo.